For the branches of the abdominal aorta, we start by drawing a diaphragm. We'll draw a single line down the center that will split into two. There are 3 unpaired arteries on the aorta, so we'll draw 2 dots near the top and then one more much further down. Just under that second dot, draw a pair of branches to use as a landmark. That first branch is the celiac trunk, and it's sitting at about the T12 vertebra. Second branch at the L1 is the superior mesenteric artery. Third branch is at L3, inferior mesenteric artery, and where the aorta splits or bifurcates is at L4. Those splits are the left and right common iliac arteries. And the split underneath our second dot is the renal arteries. These unpaired arteries are difficult to draw on top of the aorta, so instead we're going to take them in sequence 1, 2, and 3. Branch number 1, sitting just underneath the aorta, is the celiac trunk. The celiac trunk's typically pretty short, so we're just going to draw a little circle to indicate it. It has 3 branches, one coming off the top, and then one each to the right and the left sides. That first branch is the left gastric artery. Our branch to the left is the splenic artery, and our branch to the right is the common hepatic artery. The left gastric artery just travels around that lesser curvature of the stomach. The splenic artery is a lot longer and has what we call a tortuous path. At the very end of it, right before you hit the spleen, we have this long branch here. That's going to be the left gastro-omental artery. The other somewhat large branch of splenic goes sort of posteriorly, so that's going to be our posterior gastric artery. And then along the splenic artery, we have multiple small branches. These are all going to the pancreas along the body of it, so these are pancreatic arteries. That's it for the splenic artery, so let's flip over and look at a common hepatic. It branches relatively rapidly, with one branch going towards the liver and one coming down. That branch that is going down is the gastroduodenal artery. The one traveling up is the proper hepatic artery because it's properly traveling towards the liver. Proper hepatic artery has one small branch coming off, and then it's going to fork into 2 branches. That small branch coming off is the right gastric artery, and then when it forks, it's going to split into the right and left hepatic arteries that are actually traveling into the liver. And then typically branching off of the right hepatic artery is a branch to the gallbladder, and that is the cystic artery. The gastroduodenal artery will then split into one long branch and 2 smaller branches. That long branch is the right gastro-omental artery. Those 2 smaller branches are the anterior and posterior superior pancreatico-duodenal arteries, which is indeed a mouthful. But that is the entire celiac trunk branching pattern. Switching next to our second major branch. This is the superior mesenteric artery, also known as the SMA. We'll start here where we branch off the aorta and come down at a slight angle just to make it easier to draw the branches accurately. So that's our superior mesenteric artery. We're going to have one branch right away going back up. That is the inferior pancreatico-duodenal artery. After that, we have a second branch also traveling up. That is our middle colic artery. After that, we have somewhere between 15 and 18 branches, but we're just going to draw a few. These are longer, and they're going to end in these little loops that are arcades, and then have small vessels coming off the end. These are collectively the intestinal arteries, but if they're going to the jejunum, we'll call them jejunal arteries, and if they're going to the ileum, we'll call them ileal arteries. Those loops towards the end are known as arterial arcades, and at the very end, those very short branches are called vasa recta, which means straight vessels. Now at the very end of the SMA, we split into 2. Our first branch is going to be the right colic artery, and that longer branch is the ileocolic artery. The ileocolic artery ends in a couple branches down here. There's a few cecal arteries, and then one extra artery to the appendix known as the appendicular artery. And that's the end of the superior mesenteric branches. Finally, we end with our third unpaired artery. This is the inferior mesenteric artery, sometimes known as the IMA. Once again, we start when we branch off the aorta, and this time we're veering off to the left. We have one branch coming off to the side. That's going to be our left colic artery. And then near the end, we split into a couple different branches here. We really have 3 to 4 branches going to the sigmoid colon, so those are the sigmoid arteries. And then one final branch going to the first part of the rectum, and that is the superior rectal artery. And that's it for the inferior mesenteric artery branches.